one of the most important things for me is women in the restaurant business. Like, I've always been a big believer that, you know, women deserve all the love in this business, and they do such a better job. and they're most of the time such a bigger joy to work with, and they've been so underappreciated for a long time, and it's been obviously like the kitchen was like a man's world for a long time, and I think that in restaurants in general we have not seen enough great women get the light and the attention that they deserve.
This episode brought to you by Restaurant Systems Pro.
Parmesan cheese pie.
With excitement, allow me to introduce to you today's guest, chef, owner of We All Gotta Eat, David Foulquier. David, are you feeling unstoppable today?
Oh, I'm feeling unstoppable.
Yeah, dude, I'm excited for today's conversation. I usually try not to do too much research, but whenever my guest is on someone else's podcast, it's hard to not listen and not hear everything. But I know this is going to be a great conversation because of your background, because of your passion, because you're so well spoken. I cannot wait to get into it. But let's get that motivational, inspirational ball rolling with a success quote or mantra. What do you got for us?
I'll tell you, I think part of our mission statement as a restaurant group is always to just be the best in class. So my mantra every day I wake up, just be the best at what I do.
What's the secret to being the best in class when you have so many different types of restaurants?
I think it's just this commitment to excellence and not letting any part of the business not be great. You know, whether that be, you know, whether you be a doctor, whether you be a chef, whatever it is, I think comes naturally to me to try to be the best. I don't know if I was like maybe raised in a competitive household. My brother and I were competitive. My dad is super competitive. My mom not so competitive. But
you need something to balance it out, right?
Yeah, she was the yin to our yang.
Yeah.
But we were kind of just raised with this idea. You know, we were born and raised in Manhattan, and I think, you know, part of being raised in the city that never sleeps is that there's always somebody trying to be better than you, you know, and it's a city that like really rewards people who try to be great. Greatness is one of those things that it's infectious. You see it, you feel it, and until you like experience it, it's very hard to put your foot down and just say, hey, you know, I want to be great.
Yeah.
And I think I got really lucky from my very first moments in a professional kitchen working for Daniel Boulud, understanding that their commitment was just to be 3 Michelin stars, you know, to be the best French restaurant in the world at the time. They were trying to be the best in America at the very least. But so I got to see that like front row, and seeing that was really inspirational.
Yeah.
Just like the little things, you know, like they sent me back like 3 times in the first 2 days because like my shave wasn't close enough or that my tie wasn't done perfectly, you know, like little things like that where, you know, are things that we usually don't think about, that they taught me, hey, you know what, like it really doesn't, you know, today I have a scruff, you know, so it doesn't matter. I'm not trying to shave the way I did then, but it does give you this constant reminder of just like, hey, you know, like everything needs to be perfect.
Yeah, it's like the making your bed every day. Right?
Making your bed every day.
Yeah. Did you always knew you wanted to be a restaurateur?
I kind of always knew, yeah.
But the first thing I see on your LinkedIn profile is Daniel Boulud.
Yeah. That was really luck. Really,
so is that
honestly.
literally your first like role?
That was my first role. Yeah.
Wow.
So my mom is from Iran, but she grew up in a small town outside of Geneva called Lausanne, which actually has a very famous hospitality program, arguably the most famous one in the world. But you know, she went to middle school and high school in the small town with Daniel Boulud's first wife and mother of his children. And then I went to high school with his daughter.
Okay.
So, you know, back in the early 80s, mid 80s, when New York City was like just kind of like getting this like big influx of immigration, you know, like there was a handful of French people. You know, it wasn't like today where you walk down the street and you hear 20 different languages. Like this concept of like mass immigration to the United States, it is a relatively, you know, it's obviously always been happening, but it's a relatively recent phenomenon. You know, like sure, the people were coming over and on Ellis Island, you know, 100 years ago, But it's very different. This more like modern approach of people coming from really random countries.
Well, yeah, it's
and
it's
not
like,
fleeing oppression, just like coming because this is the land of, this is the land of dreams,
well, in the land of like for refugees too. We take on so many refugees, like
So many
from all over the world, So there's different waves from different parts of the world.
Yeah,
constantly.
different waves.
Yeah.
So my mom and my dad, I guess they met in New York City, and they were part of like a small scene of Frenchies, and there was at the time, like a handful of French restaurants in all of New York City, and Daniel happened to be, one of the only great chefs who was trying to make his name in New York, and I guess at the time my mom and my dad, they fostered that friendship, and me and his daughter, Danielle's daughter, being the same age, it was just kind of like a natural way for me to always be at their house. And whenever, when we would do Thanksgiving dinners together, I'd get to eat Danielle's food. I didn't know what I was eating. I was
going to ask, like, at what point did you realize how like lucky you? I don't use the word privilege to be able to like have that influence.
I honestly, I think it was the day that I stepped foot in there for the first time.
Oh wait, this is who I've had access to this entire time.
Yeah.
Like, and did you realize how lucky you were to like be in that kitchen at that moment?
I still look back and like I still don't even think. I think of like little 18-year-old shit version of myself, and I'm like, no, man, like you totally did not get enough out of it. But then I look back, I'm like, look where I am today. I definitely got something out of it.
Yeah, right.
But I mean, I definitely think that having that early introduction to greatness, and it's just like when, why people love to play with LeBron. It's like when you play with MJ, you play with LeBron, you play with Brady, it's like
you get pulled to that level.
You get pulled to that level. And maybe, some people turn that into a career of greatness. Some people are always going to be a wingman and, will maybe never have that level of greatness again. But just like what that does, the infectious energy and that strive for excellence, it was really, really, really inspirational. Nice. So I got really lucky.
That role, the host role, is so underrated in my opinion.
Oh, dude, it's a dying art.
Oh my God. The best restaurateurs in the world, I think, in my mind, start as hosts. Look at Danny Meyer. That's the role he played.
That's his shtick, yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful role, and it can make or break a restaurant. And then people put energy in just to seeing their guests and being present with their guests. That's the stuff that keeps people coming back.
Oh yeah, customer retention before these incentive apps and all these different mechanisms that we have with getting people's emails and things of that nature. It was literally like handing out your card.
Yeah. They're not loyal to you. They're loyal to the discount.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're loyal to the discount.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think has made me able to survive this industry is just that I am able to get along with people of all walks of life, no matter where you come from, how old you are, your socioeconomic background. I've always had this like very gregarious personality, and I was always taught by my mom and my grandma that you just got to treat everybody the same.
If you can sum up one or two major lessons early in your career, the big lessons, what are those big lessons, the things that we can take away?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I think it's like following your passions, not giving up on them, knowing what you want. If you know what you want, a lot of people don't have the benefit of knowing what they want, and I think it's a little bit harder because if you're just out there trying to figure it out, waiting for the world to kind of like throw you a signal, that signal might never come.
Pizza break.
Yeah. Dig in.
We'll be right back.
Square Sicilian. Wow, that looks like a beauty. Look at the crumb on that. Yeah, I mean these are the killers. These are what we do. I think the best I've ever had.
Oh my God, it's so good.
I think it's the best square that exists.
Honestly, I can say that's the best square pizza I've ever had. It's so good. All right, man. 2014.
Yeah. Back to Japan.
What are you, 23 years old? 24 years old?
Yeah.
At this point in your story?
24, yeah.
This is going back 9 years ago?
Yeah.
You're a young dude.
I'm a young dude, yeah. Feels like I've done so much, but...
You opened your first restaurant when you're 24 years old.
25.
25.
Yeah. So, like, I got back from Japan with this idea that, like, one day I'm going to open a sushi restaurant. And I started kind of, like, looking for... I came back to Miami, and I actually ended up going back to work for my buddy at OTC. And during that time, he was also a young hospitality entrepreneur, Michael Sullivan. Now he's one of my best friends, my mentor. He's my exclusive restaurant broker here in Miami. He finds me all my deals. He graduated from the restaurants into restaurant real estate.
That's a common transition.
Listen,
it's a big part of the industry.
He's the best.
Yeah.
I got nothing but the best things to say about this guy.
Restaurant real estate is a whole different game.
It's a whole different
so many
game.
variables.
But it's one of those other things where it's like, if you could look at it from the operator standpoint, it changes. It's a very helpful bird's eye view, being able to come with that operator mindset when you're like looking at real estate. It's not just some broker shoving a place down your throat. It's a guy who understands, like, wait, is this place going to be able to make money? Is this percentage of the sales that you're going to pay to the landlord make sense? Does this trade area make sense for your concept? There's just so much that goes into restaurant real estate. He was also really young. Like, I think he opened OTC when he was like 24, 25. And also like a similar situation as me. Like, he had an idea. He saw that there was exciting stuff happening at the time in like the kind of like gastro pub world and the craft beer world, which like back in like 2010 when it opened, or 2011, there like was not that much of that, especially not here in Miami. Like people here, like the craft scene was really just starting. And he kind of he took me under his wing, and for those 4 months, it was like just like my time to figure out what it was that I was going to do. And there was a restaurant that I like to go to for lunch all the time, where this amazing woman was making delicious food. And one day, her name was Nicole Vitano. She's like my sister now. One day, I went in there and I was like, what do you think about maybe leaving this place one day? And she's like, yeah, well, I want to move to California. I want to go back to San Francisco. That's like where I grew up, and I want to open a restaurant there. I was like, what if we open a restaurant here?
Yeah. Or was this New York now, right?
No, it was in Miami.
Oh, Miami.
And she, I guess she saw that like I was just going there all the time, and I was just like loyal to her food. And she saw that I really respected her food, and that I always talked to her about it, and I always tried to ask her questions. That was something that I think also like helped me so much in life, is to not be scared to ask questions. Like, don't be that guy. Like, it sounds silly, but like, don't be that guy. Like, ask.
Yeah.
Can't hurt to ask. What, some guy tells you you're an idiot for asking the question? Great, on to the next guy.
Right.
Like, I'm not. Like, you're not gonna get the answer if you don't ask. Don't waste your time here. Like, you're taking over. Like, that's one of the things that happens, and I've gotten clipped by it since then. Is just this idea that like something has like old charm to it, and that this old the second generation space is like has so much potential. Like, you really got to be careful when you sign a new lease. You can, just because something was a restaurant one day doesn't mean that it's like ready to be turned into a restaurant tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why that place closed most often. Right. Like, either the lease wasn't good, the space wasn't conducive, no parking. Like, occasionally it actually happens that it's the operator who sucked. But more often than not, like, it's really just like
one of the 1,000 variables that will get past you.
Yeah. And
or multiple variables compounding.
Correct. And so I said, we got to go full blast. And we went full blast, opened this pizza place. Portnoy gave us a crazy score. For the better, for worse. It was amazing, but we were totally not ready for it. Like, we got blasted.
Yeah, right.
Like, from one day to the next. Like, I've gotten Michelin stars, like, cooked at the James Beard House. I've done all this other stuff. I've never seen a needle move more than Prez. Like, and I hope he hears me, because it was literally, and I know he knows this because he said it to me on the phone that day when he came, and I wasn't here when he came. I was celebrating. My brother had just gotten engaged, and we were celebrating, and he came, and they put him on the phone. They're like, after he left, and Dave was like, I gave you a really good score. You're gonna be really, really busy tomorrow. You're gonna be really busy tomorrow. I was like, what score did I get? Like, and he hung up the phone. And then the next day, the video came out. We got an 8.2, and at the time, it was like the second highest score in the Southeast United States or something. And the second the video dropped, like, he's like, I'm dropping it at 5 p.m.
You're like, why? What do I care?
I was like, at 5:01, the phones. Thank you for calling 11th Street. Please hold. Thank you for calling 11th Street. Please hold. Thank you for calling 11th Street. Please hold. I was getting guys like, hi, this is like Sheikh Abdullah from Dubai. You know, we'd like to bring your concept to Dubai. Or this is this person, you know, we'd like to open your place. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm doing 30 pies a day, hand mixing, me and like 4 friends like in the kitchen. Like, this isn't even a business. This was a pop-up.
Yeah.
It was not what it was today. Like, industry in general, I'm very happy that there's like just more mom and pop shops coming back. You know, it's like we went through like a phase where like I feel like it was just like corporate America was taking over the food world. Now, like I see, like you were saying, like there's like little people all over the country and all over the world, like making a difference. Like COVID was amazing because it gave people these opportunities. You know, to shine the light on people who were maybe, you know, who like for the people who opened their pop up with me here, Little Laos, they now have, you know, 2 like brick and mortar shops where they sell their Laotian food out of. Like nobody was giving them an opportunity before.